Hey guys, welcome back to CC Home and Garden. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about fertilizing. Spring is right around the corner. So now is the time to go get your fertilizers and start preparing your plants for the growing season. So today I'm going to be talking about what I do for our trees, our shrubs, our perennials, and I'll kind of show you my favorite brand and how I like to use their products. So here we go. Okay, so here's what I have in my cart today. First of all, I wanted to talk about Biotin starter fertilizer. You guys have seen me mention this several times in my post, and I like to call this magic powder. It is absolutely amazing. Everything in our garden just thrives because we use the Biotin. I absolutely love it, and I refuse to plant anything without it first. So this is a good start, and all of your plants will thrive if you're using other Espoma products, but this kind of just gives you that extra boost. So if you didn't use it, now you're starting to use other Biotin products, your things will still thrive, but this really just gives it a kick start. So I highly recommend you pick yourself up some of this if you're going to be doing any planting this season. Bulb tone, I'm not going to be using that this year because a lot of our bulbs are new from last year, but when you're planting new bulbs, you want to use the bulb tone, and then I'll feed my bulbs in the beginning of fall so they have enough energy for springtime, and I've been seeing a lot of really good results with that. Rose tone I use throughout the season, and a lot of these you're going to be using once a month during the growing season, so I love the rose tone for all of our roses. Let's see, our citrus tone, you guys I've made a post about it as well. We have a lemon tree and it wasn't doing so good, and I started to use the citrus tone, and I've noticed a drastic change in fruit production and in the actual growth of the tree. So again, you can use the citrus tone for avocados, citrus trees, and nut trees. Highly recommend it. I also use their garden lime for our hydrangeas, although I'm not going to be feeding them quite yet. I'm going to give it a few more weeks to start feeding our hydrangeas. Let's see. Our flower tone, I will be using those on our flowering perennials. So our peonies, I like to use it on our let's see, a lot of peonies. What else do I use it on? Some of our hebes I'll use it on. Sometimes I'll use it on lavender, and there's actually a full list of where you want to use the flower tone specifically. I switch between plant tone and flower tone depending if I want my plants to grow or if I want to focus more on the bloom. Hellebores is another one I like to use these on. Okay, so holly tone, I use it for a lot of things, and it has a lot of uses. You can feed your ferns, your fir, gardenias, heather, your hemlocks, magnolia, lupine, raspberries, rhododendrons, spruces. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Dogwood, which I'll be doing that today. I love it. There are specific food for azalea, but I feel like with the holly tone, you get so much range from it. So I always recommend this one because there's so much you can feed in your garden. Now for boxwoods and arborvitaes, those are evergreens that are not acid loving. So you're going to be wanting to use plant tone for those types of plants. Lastly, I love these Job's spikes. I use them a lot in our trees, like our weeping cedar, just any of our big trees. I like to use the fertilizer spikes, and if I have any camellias in the ground, I'll also use the fertilizer spikes, and I'll show you guys what those look like in a minute. But they're really great. They get you a lot of mileage. I really love their products as well. I do have a couple of camellias that are in pots, so for that I'll probably use I'm gonna double check on what I'll use for that, because if they're in pots, a lot of the you don't want to put things that are not organic. And even though these jobs are really great, I want to use organic products in pots. And you want to continuously use that throughout the season, because remember, you're just flushing out those nutrients every time you water. So it's really good to build up the soil full of really beneficial bacteria by using the any organic fertilizer. Again, I recommend Espoma. Another great thing I wanted to mention that I learned this year after meeting a couple of the reps from Espoma this year is that they just changed their formula to like it has a massive range of beneficial bacteria. So I mean, they took a really great product, and I don't know how they did it, but they were improved on it. So props to them. And you can measure out your fertilizers using a cup, or you can have a designated measuring cup. I like to just use this little shovel from Corona. I picked it up at Home Depot, and I just love the white scoop. It's really easy to use, it's quick, and yeah, so I just keep this guy with fertilizer and some of our potting soil. So I'm gonna put my camera down, and I'll put it near the areas where I'm gonna be using these fertilizers today, so you guys can get an up close shot of what to do. So here we go. Okay, so for this tree, it looks like it's going to require 2 of the Job's fertilizer spike. So this is what they look like. They come in a variety of sizes depending on what you're using it for. So basically I'm going to break these in half, and I'm going to put 4 around the drip line of the tree. So, and depending on the diameter of the trunk, it will tell you in the back of the packet how many of these spikes you're going to be using. So I'm going to just break it in half, just like that. So I will be mulching in about a week, so I'm not worried about them being exposed right now. And depending on how the tree is looking through the season, I might add just a little bit of the Espoma Holly Tone just to give it a little bit of a boost. But I feel like the Job's spike sticks, fertilizer spike sticks, are plenty for these guys for springtime feeding. Okay, so for this beautiful gardenia of mine, I'm going to be using the Holly Tone, and the instruction says for established shrubs to mix in 1 cup per feet branch spread. So this probably has about a 2-foot branch spread. So I'll be doing 2 cups, and I'll just use a full scoop and maybe a scoop and a half. So you just want to kind of put it at the base. make sure just to work that in. If you have mulch already in your beds, you just want to kind of move it back a little bit because it will have a hard time, or the fertilizer will have a hard time breaking through and through the mulch. So you just want to move it back a little bit from the drip line and the trunk of your tree or shrub, whatever you're fertilizing, just to, you know, make sure that it has a better chance of penetrating to the roots better. Just because some of us have a lot of that barky mulch. We don't have that problem right now because we've been using a lot of compost to build up this bed, because it used to be just hard clay. So I'm trying to get this done before we put in a nice layer of mulch next week. And you don't have to worry about really watering it in right now because it's been raining, and it will make its way down to the roots of the plant. Okay, so for my lilac, this is an established plant. I planted it last year along with most of the plants that you'll be seeing in today's video. And the instruction says to do 1 cup per feet branch spread. So it is pretty small. It's probably about a foot branch spread. So I'll just be doing 1 cup. So about a scoop. And I just kind of, you don't want to do it too close to the base of your plant because you don't want to run the risk of burning it. So just mix it in just like that. Okay, so for this hebe, it's a flowering hebe. It produces the most beautiful purple flower. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a cup, or no, I'm sorry, 2 cups, because it is a little bit bigger, but I'm gonna experiment. I'm gonna do plant tone now. In about a month or so, I'm gonna do the flower tone because I don't want it to get too big, but I do want it to continue to produce the beautiful flowers that it does. So that will kind of be an experiment for me to kind of alternate the fertilizers. So I'm gonna put my camera down and I'll go ahead and feed this guy as well. Okay, this is one of our red twig dogwoods, and I'll be using holly tone for this. And the instruction says if it's already an established shrub, you want to use 1 cup per branch spread. So this probably has about a 3-foot spread on it. probably just do a little bit under the recommended dose because these have been growing like crazy. Again, I use Biotin starter fertilizer. That could be a reason why. It just grows so well. All right, for this little boxwood Hebe, I'll be using Plant Tone. Okay guys, so I do have a lot of these ornamental grasses, and for these I'm going to be placing Plant Tone to all of them. So I'm going to do that off camera just because we have so many of them. So here I go. So here's one of my peonies. I cannot believe how much growth is already on it, and it's just the beginning of March. So I'll be using Flower Tone and about a half a cup for established plants. I'm gonna take this guy up a little bit and just gently spread. Just like that. Look at these beauties starting to bloom. So many tulips blooming. And look at this clematis. Isn't it gorgeous? You guys, this is 1 year growth from 1 gallon pots. How crazy is that? All right, guys, so I planted 4 dogwoods in the front last year, and instead of giving it tree tone, I'm gonna give it holly tone. And I wanted to mention also, when you're feeding your plants right now, it's a good time to just go around and pick any weeds. That's what I've been doing as I go along. Just like little grasses like that where you don't, we're gonna expand the circle a little bit more, but if you have any little grasses, you know, it's a good time to kind of hand pick them out. So for these trees, I'm gonna do about 1.5 cups. Just work that in, and remember, if you have mulch, just to pull your mulch back a little bit and then put your fertilizer in. That way it gives it an opportunity to really penetrate through. Just like that. Hey guys, so yesterday's video got cut off and we didn't realize until we were uploading this video. But that was it for yesterday. If you guys have any specific questions about any of the plants or what I used, go ahead and comment below and I'll do my best to answer those for you. But there are a couple of things I wanted to touch base on that I kind of talked about throughout the video in the beginning of the video. And that was one of the products that I talked a little bit about and I used a lot was the holly tone. And I mentioned that I like the holly tone because it has such a big range of plants that I can use it to feed a big range of plants. But if you have a lot of things like azalea, then you want to make sure that you buy food specifically for your azalea. And I know Espoma has an azalea tone specifically for them. The reason why I will use the holly tone on my azaleas is because I only have 2 and they're still in pots. So for me, it's not beneficial to go out and buy, you know, a bag of food specifically just for those 2 little ones that I have. Now, if I continue to put more into my landscape, then yeah, I will invest and get azalea tone specifically for them. But right now, for me, it's good enough. I just put a little bit in those pots and it seems to do the trick. So that was my point about the azalea. I also touched base a little bit on citrus tone. So we use citrus tone for all of our fruiting trees. We have a lot of peaches, nectars, and a lot of figs on our property. Right now we have between 25 and 30 figs. We love figs, we collect figs, we order them from all over the country, we propagate them. We just love figs. So the thing is, most of our figs are still in pots. They're in pots because we hope to move to an area where we have a lot more land. So we'll be taking a lot of those with us, especially like the specialty ones or the rare ones we'll take with us. But because they're in pots, I feel comfortable using the citrus tone. One, it's organic. So like I mentioned before, when you water things in pots, you have to keep a close eye on them because you're washing away a lot of those nutrients. And if you're using a fertilizer that's non-organic, then you can run the risk of a lot of those things building up in your soil, which you don't want to do. That's why I highly recommend use organic. Espoma is just a great route for me, and that's what I recommend to all of my family and friends. I talked a little bit about, you know, different plants have different requirements, so don't just focus on the NPK values. You know, look for nutrients that are specifically targeted for that plant. And like I mentioned, Espoma has a wide variety or a wide range of products to help you do that. So I did touch a little bit on Biotin. And I wanted to just go a little bit more in detail about Biotin fertilizer because a lot of people don't, or that I introduce it to, don't understand quite why I love it so much and why I call it magic powder, because it really is magic powder. And 2 of the things that I love about Biotin is that it has really beneficial microbes, which are just beneficial bacteria that are going to help break down the nutrients and help those nutrients or help your plants absorb those nutrients a lot quicker. And then they also have mycorrhizae fungi. A lot of people say fungi, I say fungi. But basically what that does, there's a symbiotic relationship between the fungi and the roots of your plants. And when you put these mycorrhizae into the soil, they're going to be like these little spores which make their way to the roots of the plant. And once they do that, they start colonizing near the roots of the plants. And then they'll have this structure, the hyphae, which will penetrate the roots of the plant, and they'll create structures to exchange nutrients between the roots and the spore. So they're just so beneficial. Through time, say you have a bed and you haven't planted there in a long time, then those spores or those mycorrhizae will eventually just break down and they won't be there. So it's important to always add them to your soil, and also just to help build up your soil. That way anything that you do plant will benefit from it. And for me, that's why I like the Biotin starter fertilizer, because it has those two components and a whole range of other ingredients that are just going to really kickstart your plant and really add nutrients to your soil over time. You can look on the back of the Biotin. There's just a great ingredient list of all of the things that are in there. So if you're looking for something specific, just take a look at the back of the bag. I'll link down below for you guys where you can order these online. If you don't want to run to your garden center, you can order them online. I have done that before, and they come within a few days. And it's just easy and perfect. And yeah, so if there's anything that I didn't touch on, or if you have any specific questions, like I said before, just comment below. I'll do my best to answer that. And if I can't answer it, then I have a lot of resources that I can reach out and talk to somebody about it. And I'm not sponsored by Espoma. I just really love their product. But Espoma, if you're watching, call me. All right, well, that's it for today's video, and we'll see you in our next one.